Okay then guys, what's going on? Cloud Plays here and welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we are in Saints Row and we have covered a fair few positives that revolved around the game, with its launch being in just around 31 hours from the point of recording. Well, today we're going to be approaching some of the negatives that have hit the scene and giving my 2 cents on what these opinions stand for. It's going to be an interesting one, and let me know what your guys' opinions are for all of these topics down in the comment section below. I want to know if you guys are a woke or not woke argument sort of guy. Let's jump on in. If you haven't already, slap the like button, subscribe, post notifications turned on. Appreciate your faces, and let's jump into it. So with Saints Row having a generic reputation for the gangster mobsters that have been essentially the most craziest creative people out there kind of obviously has to be a bit of a ceiling with where it is this creativity can land. Now with this Saints Row, we have kind of rebooted per se. We've completely reinvented the playstyle for Saints Row in the way that it's kind of worked as an overall. Now I don't know about you, but as far as 2022 goes, we all know that people have a bit more of an opinion, especially when it comes to the more controversial side of things, and Saints Row's always been quite good at really pushing the boundaries on where that controversial line stands. Where it is that they may have gone throughout this year, if we hadn't had the year we've had, we will have to kind of imagine where that would have been, but as of right now, it doesn't surprise me that they've toned it down a little bit. For the reboot though, they have got a whole new array of characters, and this has been probably one of the more questionable selections from the general community and a lot of reviewers and or YouTubers on the internet. They're stating that this has lost them their edgy gangster sort of look, and what they've gained is college students, a bunch of roommates, which essentially will lose the generic Saints Row feel and will lose the good story in its generic Saints Row styling. What does this mean on an overall? It means that we've got a bit of a different game ahead, and why would they not if they're going to change all of this sort of stuff? Just generate a whole new title? Well, I think they're kind of dependent on the fact of it being a Saints Row carrying the overall. As far as the characters go, I completely understand where people are stating this from. I have played Saints Row 2, Saints Row the 3rd, and Gat Out of Hell, and as far as it went, the further along the lines it went, the worse it kind of got, although the character basis is a little bit of a confusing motive. The only thing I can really put it down to is when we look at things such as the Grand Theft Auto series, the characters have always kind of changed, and although that isn't been the case for Saints Row, maybe they're looking at reinventing the game as an all new level, and maybe the next game will get a whole new storyline with all new Saints involved. But as far as it goes for the generic version of it, we've got very little information with regards to the actual story anyway. We know that they are trying to pay off a student loan, which does sound a little bit like less gangsterish than I've ever freaking heard in my life, but they're trying to pay off a student loan, and these college classmates or college roommates are going to rally together, generate a gang, and commit crimes to pay off that loan. It's a little bit wild, and I can kind of see why people would be kicking off about the generic storyline revolved around it, but that's where we're at with that. Let me know in the comment section where you guys are thinking with this one. Next up, we're going to go along the generic playstyle of the in-game feel, the way that the game is maneuverable, the way that you can maneuver yourself around the map, and the way that the actual game feels as an overall, based on those people who have had early hands-on time with Saints Row reboots. We have kind of got this generic feel of a copy and paste from Just Cause with a load of wacky stuff inside of it. If you guys don't know what Just Cause is, you're going to see some gameplay on the screen now, but with regards to the wingsuits and the grappling and the way that you can kind of maneuver yourself around the map has kind of been a little bit of a copy and paste maneuver around that, and I do feel like they've taken a lot of inspiration from that style of game and kind of stepped away from the Saints Row's generic like superpowers and crazy jumping and insane freaking flying around and stuff like that. I feel like they have taken a bit of a step away from their generic feel of the Saints Row movement, and the general consensus of a copy and paste inside of gaming has been kind of slated no matter what the game is. The only thing that you can kind of come round to is there has to become a ceiling of the expectations when it comes to gaming nowadays. We've had games going on for so many years, so many new releases, and there's only so many ways that you can maneuver around a sandbox. I don't know about you, but I feel like taking inspiration from another game and using it inside of your own is always going to be something that most companies are going to fall flat on now. Next up, we're going to be talking about the graphics graphics inside of Saints Row Reboot, and this is something I can kind of get behind. I feel like as an overall, the graphics inside of Saints Row is not amazing whatsoever, considering we're in 2022, and the maneuver of how graphics have kind of come up until this point, where we start to look at things like Gran Turismo, where the realization is that actually relative graphics can change the game dramatically. I never expected Saints Row to be a realistic level of graphical imagery, but I did kind of expect it to be a little bit further on than where we're at right here, considering we are in a movement right now where we've got next generation gaming, Xbox Series X's, PS5s, PCs have got a whole new level of imagination when it comes to the graphics cards inside of them. We are still playing a Saints Row that looks like it would perform at best on a PS4. It doesn't really make much sense to me why they didn't really work on this one a little bit heavier, although the way that it looks aside of all of the sceneries and stuff like that when you are flying around in your wingsuit, it looks okay, it looks pretty good, doesn't look too shabby, but as far as actual imagery in face recognition, in hair, in stuff like that, there is not much detail in there at all. Now, there are a lot of games that can't really ever get the generic graphic for hair correct, and it is quite a hard thing to do, but it kind of looks like they haven't tried whatsoever. And as far as the graphics behind it, I feel like we're only 1 or 2 steps away from Saints Row 4. It doesn't really feel like we've kind of gone anywhere in the level of how this game actually looks. And that's just my personal opinion. I really, it doesn't faze me too much with this title for some reason, and I don't know if that's because we're in a day and age where the games are coming out very few and far, and I'm getting excited about lower detail things. And this might just be the case because I quite like a decent set of graphics inside of the games that I play. But let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comment section with regards to the Saints Row graphics and whether it actually meets your expectations or not. And finally, the location, the city of Santo Eliso, located in the southwest America and based loosely around the city of Las Vegas, Nevada. It doesn't really scream gangster to me, and although I do really like the aesthetics around this new Saints Row reboot, it looks like it just works, and I can't really put my finger as to why. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy the generation movement into the Nevada area, a bit like with GTA 5 when we were going around as Trevor in the Deep West. Is kind of one of those things, right? Maybe you guys have got a different opinion on that one, and although a lot of people, like reviewers and the general things that I'm finding on Twitter, Instagram and all of the social media, is that the location doesn't really scream out Saints Row, with it being more of a centralized New York, LA sort of feel that really should be pushing in with this gangster motive. It's kind of a bit of a shame, and I think that this is a very small thing to worry about, considering we kind of want the new scenery, don't we? We kind of want there to be maneuvers around the map, and that's one thing that GTA always did well, is we did have new areas. Vice City, San Andreas, all of these new places were completely different on each regard, and I don't think it'd be a bad thing for Saints Row to start venturing out into different areas and different places. Where hell, we want a GTA London, for God's sake. Where the hell are we going to take this Saints Row thing without you guys kind of saying the location doesn't fit the motive? If you guys want to play Saints Row, the original base game, go and play the original base game, but things have sometimes got to evolve and they've got to generate new feels, or else things become really stale really quickly. I feel like game companies also have to take risks with these sorts of things, and in today's day and age where people will scrutinize and take down a lot of things if the opinion it doesn't really go by the social networking maneuvering, then Saints Row was obviously always going to fail. We may see that actually by having the double-ended dildos and stuff like that inside of this game, and having things that may have had some sort of slurs in some way, like a lot of other Saints Row titles have, it would have also been slammed on that regard as well. So we were always going to be in a bit of a lose-lose situation with that title. As an overall, I'm pretty excited for Saints Row, although don't think it'll be a longevity game. Do feel like this is going to be something that may tickle your fancy and give over a little bit more time to the next big release. That's all we got time for today. If you haven't already, smash that beautiful blue thumbs up and subscribe, post notifications turned on. Thank you so much again for watching, guys. I appreciate all your faces, and as always, up until the next time, I'll see you in the clouds.